It was a freezing winter morning when Michael Carter, a humble janitor finishing the night shift at a downtown office building, noticed an elderly woman sitting alone outside a small bakery. Her hands trembled from the cold as she quietly counted a few coins that weren't enough to buy even a loaf of bread. People in expensive suits walked past without giving her a second glance. Michael had only $12 left in his wallet, money he needed for the bus ride home and dinner for himself. He hesitated for just a moment, then smiled warmly, stepped inside the bakery, bought the freshest loaf of bread, a cup of hot soup, and tea, and gently placed them in the woman's hands. "Everyone deserves to eat," he said softly before walking away, never asking her name and never expecting anything in return. What Michael didn't know was that the quiet old woman wasn't homeless at all. She was Eleanor Hayes, the reclusive billionaire CEO of one of the country's largest companies, disguised as an ordinary senior citizen to see how people treated strangers when they believed no one important was watching. Michael Carter had spent most of his life doing work few people noticed. Every night, after thousands of office workers returned home, he quietly cleaned floors, emptied trash bins, polished glass doors, and prepared the building for another busy day. Most employees barely knew his name. Yet Michael never complained. His late mother had always told him, "Your job doesn't define your worth. The kindness you show others does." Those words became the foundation of his life. Every Friday, despite earning very little, Michael bought groceries for an elderly neighbor who could no longer leave her apartment. He often repaired broken bicycles for neighborhood children without charging a cent and regularly donated warm clothes to local shelters. He believed kindness was valuable only when no one was watching. One icy morning after finishing a 12-hour shift, Michael stopped outside a neighborhood bakery. There, sitting quietly on a wooden bench, was an elderly woman wearing a worn gray coat. She looked exhausted. Her hands shook as she counted coins over and over again. The cashier gently explained that she didn't have enough money. Several customers rolled their eyes impatiently. One businessman muttered, "She's wasting everyone's time." Michael stepped forward. Without saying a word, he purchased a fresh loaf of bread, hot soup, fruit, and tea. He carried everything outside and handed it to her. The elderly woman looked at him with tearful eyes. "Young man," she asked softly, "why would you spend your own money on a stranger?" Michael smiled. "My mother taught me that hunger doesn't care whether someone is rich or poor." The woman thanked him quietly. Then she asked one final question. "If one day life gives you the chance to become wealthy, will you still help people like this?" Michael answered without hesitation. "I hope I'd help even more." The old woman smiled mysteriously. "You already passed the test." Michael laughed politely, assuming she meant nothing more than kindness itself. He wished her well and caught the next bus home. The following Monday, Michael arrived at work expecting another ordinary shift. Instead, dozens of luxury vehicles filled the parking lot. Television cameras surrounded the entrance. Executives hurried through the lobby. Confused, Michael continued mopping the marble floor. Moments later, security approached him. "Mr. Carter," one guard said respectfully. "The chairwoman would like to see you." Michael thought there had been a mistake. He nervously entered the executive boardroom for the first time in his life. Inside sat company directors, senior executives, and shareholders. At the head of the table sat the elderly woman from the bakery. Except now she wore an elegant navy suit. Her silver hair was perfectly styled. The room stood as she entered. One executive announced, "Please welcome our founder and CEO, Eleanor Hayes." Michael nearly dropped the cleaning cart he was still holding. Eleanor smiled warmly. "Please come in, Michael." The room watched silently. She explained that every year she anonymously visited different cities, dressed as an ordinary elderly woman, to observe how people treated those who appeared vulnerable. Most ignored her. Some insulted her. A few offered help. Michael had been the only person that morning who sacrificed his own comfort to help without expecting recognition. She turned toward the board. "This is exactly the kind of person I want representing our company." Then she made an announcement that stunned everyone. Michael would receive a full university scholarship funded by the company, a debt-free home for him and his younger sister, and a promotion into the company's community outreach division, where his compassion, not his resume, would shape charitable programs across the country. Reporters rushed to capture the extraordinary moment. But Michael quietly asked Eleanor one question. "Can we also create a program that provides meals for people who can't afford them?" The billionaire smiled. "I was hoping you'd ask." Together, they launched a nationwide initiative that partnered with local bakeries and restaurants to provide fresh food to families in need. Within a few years, millions of meals had been served, and hundreds of communities benefited from the program. Whenever journalists praised Michael for becoming a symbol of kindness, he always shook his head. "I didn't change the world," he would say. "I only bought a loaf of bread." Eleanor would smile and reply, "Sometimes changing the world begins with exactly that. Because true wealth isn't measured by the size of your bank account. It's measured by what you're willing to give when you have almost nothing yourself. And the smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors you never imagined."